Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gimme 10 here on a wonderful A10 Sunday. The championship games today. We're all very excited about that. We're going to have two guests on today. We have our first here, Rainbow Rowdy, a big VCU personality, and then we'll have Sully, a Dayton personality on later. I'm here with my partner, Barrett, and then obviously Rambo's here. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, absolutely.
So each of us will ask two questions, and we'll just kind of get your insight on, the game today. As a VCU fan, I'll start first. Going into this game, VCU has been very hot the past few games.
Mhm.
Dayton has not been nearly as dominant at all this year as VCU. Do you think you could see VCU completely blowing them out, or do you think it'll be a close game like the past two?
Um, so VCU Dane games, they're always close.
Yeah.
I mean, I know lately we've gotten the better of them quite a bit. But those games are usually hard fought. There's been some blowouts last year. They blew us out at our place. Um, we've had some dominant performances at their place. The score didn't always reflect that, but
Yeah.
it's a rivalry. Um,
Yeah.
that we don't necessarily say it, but it definitely the scores would indicate a rivalry there.
Oh, yeah.
So do I think we would blow them out? I mean, I think it's possible either team could Austin catch fire near. Like we obviously yesterday we looked really good against St. Louis. And yes, Dayton, they struggled there with Fordham, but at the same time, they have a lot of talent on that team. And it sometimes doesn't always come together, but when it does come together, if it all comes together, then they're really they're gonna catch fire. I'm hoping it's not this particular game that they do that. But they definitely have the talent to just absolutely blow a team out when it's all clicking. And honestly, that was the thing for the VCU team also. That there's a lot of talent. It's great 3-point shooters. I mean, Schreiber can also, just start
Yeah.
torching the other team. Johns can just kill a team from the inside, as we saw yesterday when he just took it to St. Louis
Oh, yeah.
repeatedly throughout that game. So when they were struggling, and there was a little eyebrow raising early in the year because of that, and now it's all kind of coming together at the right time. The last say 8 or 9 games, because now I guess it would be that they called it 8 road games officially in a row. I don't know if they count neutral these days as a road, but I guess we are.
Mm.
But that role just, I mean, certain players are coming. There were certain players who would step up throughout the year, but now you're seeing like all different players stepping up. Yesterday, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there were 7 players that had like double digits for VCU.
Well, Zeb Jackson's been great lately. He's
Oh,
been
yeah.
making some great plays.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many players stepping up. Also, none is,
Yeah.
yesterday he
Yeah.
just torched him from three. Then he was hitting some jumpers and that dunk. I mean, that everyone
Yeah.
was mind blown over.
Yeah.
It was really just the certain players that are all stepping up at one time. It makes it a very tough team. But the other side, you got those players like Holmes and Kamara who always puts a great game when he plays against
Yeah.
us. I've yet to see him play a bad game against us. So you have to control this, like just like you have to control Ace or Johns. Same goes for Kamara and Holmes on the other side.
Now,
So
Holmes left his bad game for Loyola, I guess.
yeah, I mean you can't let him get right near the basket. If he catches the
Yeah.
ball near the basket, it's over. He's
Yeah.
gonna dunk it on your head. So
Yeah.
you just can't let him get down there that close. And then you gotta hope he still misses because he does still have a good shot. He's a great finisher at the rim, but he still does have a good shot.
Yeah. Barrett, what's your question?
My first question is, do you think regardless of the outcome of this game, VCU gets into the dance or no?
Uh, so there would be a personal opinion, and then there would be the in my
Actual.
head opinion. So Heart-wise, if I'm speaking for I find it ridiculous that that question has to even be put out there these days, because quite simply, a team that goes 27-7 wins the regular season by 3 games. I mean, and is on the roll that the at-large bids are supposed to come from your overall body of work, which when you're breaking it down, the committee doesn't say this, but they generally judge by what you do later in the season. They don't want to put a team in who, got some quality wins at the beginning of the year and then just kind of, stunk it up the whole rest of the season. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what they want. They want entertainment. And it's ridiculous when you talk about like Ohio State, and I'm sure Dane fans can appreciate this comment on Ohio State. But to see a team like lose like 13 in a row or something,
Yeah.
just wild,
And then they
be
got put in the conversation.
yes, and to be in the conversation, I'm like,
Yeah.
get that out of here. There's no reason for that conversation. Like, I hope Purdue levels them today for that reason, because I'm just like, that's absurd to even have this kind of discussion about
Yeah.
talking about a team that can't win for like a month, and then we're gonna, because they managed to win a couple of games here now, we're gonna start talking about them. And it's just that's absurd to me.
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of Ohio State's games, and they've looked awful at times. I mean,
Yeah.
It is what it is, though. My next question for you is, we saw yesterday, I think, at least me watching the game, Dayton Fordham game is, I think what really willed Dayton with that win was them, being able to pound it inside and score. Though with VCU, it's a different monster, since, you got Kern and Johns in there and 2 long, big wingspans, and they're tall. Do you think that could be? Do you think that's going to be what wins VCU the game? Could be that interior defense from those two, because we saw it in the first game. I forgot who they played, but it was awesome.
I mean, VCU plays it's a very active defense. Years ago, we pressed a lot and we gave up easy buckets. Now there's pressure defense, but it's not just pressure going up the court. It's just pressure in general in your face, which it does get us into foul troubles different times, but it really rattles some teams. I think that was a little bit of what kind of rattled Dayton a little bit yesterday, because Fordham just was all over them. I mean, I thought a couple fights were going to break out, but
yeah, it was very physical.
The pressure with us, I think, really what it comes down to is, and I know one thing that's, Shriver's great on offense. His defense sometimes struggles. If he plays a great defensive game combined with Ace and Kern and Johns, that's going to be really tough to beat them. I mean, Johns is going to have a good defensive team. Their game. Deloach is going to have to play good defense, which he is a good rim protector. I'll give it that. But the defense, the offense is what tends to be the question. I don't know right now any team, if VCU plays its best defense and is playing its offense at the same level, I don't know that there is a team that can actually hang with them. And that would be unbiasedly. I don't know, because when you see Nunn going off from 3, Shriver going off from 3, Ace sitting from 3s, and them getting into the inside just at will, John's tearing up the inside, and then they're going to stifle you on defense.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know any team that can stay with that at that point. That's the team.
We saw it against Fordham in the regular season when VCU played Fordham. I mean, it was embarrassing for Fordham, and that after it was 2020, it was embarrassing. They just
Fordham, they had a great year, but I just don't know that they were ready to hang with the top team. I mean, they beat St. Louis, credit, but at the same time, when they went up against Dayton or VCU, you could see the quality difference. There's a lot of heart on that team, but at the same time, you got to have that level of talent too. And just talent wise right now, I don't think they're there. They could get there. They're
definitely heading in the right direction. I mean, they got the pieces, they got a good coach. Yeah.
They have the New York recruiting. I mean, they can absolutely get talent. It's a matter if that coach stays. I don't know if he will. I mean, when I saw the Georgetown job open, given I think they
Yeah.
already have made a selection, but as soon as that job opened up, he's from DC, and I thought he might just jump ship right there. But I could see him jumping ship really quick. I don't think
Yeah.
Fordham is his, settle down kind of job.
Yeah.
So,
You don't know
but
if
he
he'll get
can
this
put them in good
opportunity
play.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Barrett, what's your question?
My
one.
final question is on the Rams roster, outside of Ace, say it's a game, like this is the game, end of the game situation. You got a tie game, 15 seconds left. Who do you want taking a shot if Ace isn't in the game?
I think that would probably be John's. If I mean, his moves are just incredible. I mean, it
Yeah.
is really amazing to see a player transfer in and bring that kind of talent just immediately, just come into the team, and he took her. There was games that he went off for he went off for like 20 early on, and it was just like to see a player acclimatize like that quickly and bring their skills. I don't know that VCU has had a big man with that kind of talent
Yeah.
since maybe Marco Silva. That and farther back you'd have to go to like Reddick or Mo Alley Cox, who's playing in the NFL now.
Yeah.
So he is so polished in his moves and his ability to get to the rim. It's really, and he's got a 3-point shot, which is interesting for a big guy too. So
I think that's why he wanted to come to VCU though, because at Michigan he didn't get that role, and here he can be a star. Like especially you're seeing he's definitely he could get some conversations to potentially maybe play future ball in the NBA.
He really has that kind of stature and those moves to where he could develop that. And he might not be there yet, but we've had players like that where the Troy Daniels who you saw his jump shot and it was pretty. I mean, and it was like this is someone who could be a shooter. And it took him some time to get there. But when he got there, then he started laying up. And you've seen that with Trey and some of the other ones that went to the NBA. It took them some time. Some didn't make it, but some other, which is, they needed a couple of years, and then they got into it. Then of course we had the amazing Sheer Bones, who everyone
Bones
knew
was wild. He
you
was
knew
special.
he was NBA bound. Yes.
He was VCU's Obi Toppin.
Yes.
In this sense, yeah.
He just needs to keep himself, on the ground and whatnot. He had some, and there's been some drama with Denver and whatnot since and then he left there, and so hopefully he can find a better home there in LA. But going back to the previous question though, absolutely, John's. I mean, because I like my betting chances with him getting the ball in his hands in that kind of situation. If it's not Ace.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Hopefully sometime in the future we can have you again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good luck to your VCU Rams, and should be a great game. Thank you.
Thank you. Go Rams.
Yep. Guys, we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to Gimme 10. We are now here with Sully. He is from the Talking Out Loud podcast. Is that right?
That's right, man.
You should definitely tune into that one. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, we'll both ask him 2 questions just about the game today. I'll start. So, it's always a big rivalry when Dayton and VCU play. Do you think this game means more than just the tournament stakes? Do you think it's different as if it were just like, let's say it was just like Dayton and George Washington, for example, and it compared to like Denver VCU? I think it's got different implications because it's a rivalry like that.
Yeah, I think if you look back over the last 10 years, starting with VCU joining the conference 2013-14 season, you've seen that pretty much every time that these two teams have played, something's been on the line, right? Whether that's a regular season conference title. This is, I believe, the 5th time they've met in the A10 tournament. Some of those games obviously have been first round. Some of them have been in the finals. This is now the 2nd time UD's going to meet them in the final. But I think there's just a lot of weight on this game for Dayton in general, just because of the tournament drought that they have, and the fact that they haven't beaten VCU in the A10 tournament yet. They lost in the first round a couple years ago. There's a second round loss in there somewhere, I believe. 2015, they lost the final to VCU. So, for Dayton, it doesn't mean a lot to the guys on the court, because I always say that the history is for the fans, the here and now is for the players, right? But there's always something on the line for when these teams play. And so I think from that perspective, there's a little bit extra juice, call it a rivalry if you want to. And I think it has kind of elevated itself as the rivalry in the A10 over those 10 years. But on Dayton's side of things, it's just been a really long time since we've been here. It's been 8 years since they're in the title game. It's been 6 years since they've even been in the tournament. So, being back here and having a chance to win is really the big storyline for Dayton. VCU just happens to be in the way, right?
Yep. Barrett?
My first question is, who do you think is going to play a bigger role for Dayton today? Do you think it's going to be Amzil or Blakeney? It's going to have a bigger effect.
I mean, if history tells us, history being the last month, it's going to be Amzil, right? Blakeney can barely get minutes right now. I'm not really sure why. We haven't gotten a good answer from that. And even people I talk to that are close to the team aren't really sure why he's been in the proverbial doghouse over the last, it's been probably like a good month now that he's been kind of declining the amount of minutes that he gets per game. But Amzil's kind of an X factor type of guy, right? Like, he can give you 15 points, or he can be completely non-existent to the point where you kind of forget he's on the court. Against Fordham, he had 9 points. You look back at the St. Joe's game, he had 7 points. And I think more often than not, that's what you're going to get from Amzil is just kind of that peripheral work, maybe 5 rebounds, probably under 10 points. So frankly, if he goes off, it's a net benefit for the Flyers, obviously. But I think everybody knows that Dayton can win the game without him. And even if he's scoring 0, he's not the focal point of the Flyers. And no one's exactly game planning around trying to slow down Mustafa Amzil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my next question. So Kamara this season at least has had 2 of his best games have been against VCU. I think he had 26 and 28. Holmes has been below average against them for his standards, I guess, only scoring 10 and 13, and I think under 10 rebounds for each. Do you think Kamara will have another big game, and do you think Holmes will step it up and maybe, just dominate down low this game again, or do you think it is going to be tougher considering VCU's big guys?
Yeah, I've kind of said this all year, is that when you game plan around Deron Holmes, and like that's the whole focal point of your matchup defensively, you're probably going to get burned by Kamara because, frankly, he's a better athlete than Deuce. I mean, he might not be a better center, but he's definitely a better athlete. And the numbers kind of point to this this narrative, I guess you want to call it, or like just in general, the style of play the Flyers have to get forced into. I mean, VCU in both games that they played UD, they focused all their defensive pressure on Holmes, right? They were going to double him in the post. They were going to get pretty physical with him to the point of, maybe just putting some guys in foul trouble, intentionally. But look what happened in those 2 games. Kamara scores 27 the first game. He scores 26 the second game. So really, I mean, Holmes is probably going to get his, like, he pretty much always is going to score 15 points one way or the other. But I think, like, the key to the game today is, can they slow down Kamara? Because pretty much no team in the Atlantic 10 has been able to neutralize both dudes. And, if Kamara goes for 25, 27 points again, that's probably going to be enough for the Flyers, because that Deuce is going to get 15. So there, you're looking at 40, 45 points total. And that means you only need about 15, 20 from the whole rest of the roster. So it really does come down to, yes, VCU is probably going to do their damnedest to slow down Holmes, but like, what do they do to also try and keep Kamara off the score sheet, right?
Yeah. That being said, over the past month and a half, I mean, I know you have to base it off the whole year, but over the past month and a half, I'd say Kamara would be my player of the year. I mean, he's been so good over the month past, his production's just been awesome. I mean, like I said, we do it over the whole year, but I mean, he's just been great.
Yeah,
Barrett,
man. I mean,
yeah.
pretty much every game he's been in double digits, and when he hasn't, we've lost. If you look down the score sheet going back to the last time that we played VCU, Kamara's only been held under 10 points twice, and Dayton lost both of those games. So, there's a case to be made that, of course, Holmes is Dayton's most important player, but as far as who swings the outcome, it's Kamara.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Barrett, what's your last one?
All right, so my last question is game on the line, Flyers down 2, 10 seconds left. Who do you want taking that winning shot or game time shot?
Christ. Well, first of all, I'd be scared just because of what we've seen out of Anthony Grant in his career in the final minute of games. So hopefully, I don't know, he stays out of the huddle or something, whatever. I don't know. I'm running out of juice on March 12th to argue about Anthony Grant. So, all right, we'll put jokes aside. All right. Trying not to be facetious here. Dayton has some they're able to stretch the floor, and I think if there's 10 seconds to go in the game, everybody's going to try and neutralize Holmes. So I think I go back to what I just said. I guess it has to be Kamara, because Holmes always gets the pressure, and he always is. So who else can Dayton find in those clutch minutes or clutch moments to get him a bucket? And I probably think it's going to be Kamara because of the attention that 15 garners down low. So, I wouldn't feel great if Dayton was in that position just in general from what we've seen out of this team. But I think, let's say either Kamara or a spot up 3 from Blakeney to win it, because he'd probably be open. You know what I mean?
Remember against Richmond last year, he had that alley-oop to win the game.
That's what I mean. Yeah. He's people would forget about him in that scenario, and he's definitely capable of knocking down a shot. So I don't know. I'll call RJ Blakeney.
Yeah. One more mini little question here for you. I just thought of it. Yeah. Since you mentioned Anthony Grant's, I think we've all seen it, his interesting, ends to games that he's drawn up. Do you think if Dayton wins today, his job is safe as long as he wants to stay?
Yeah, I mean, it is regardless, right? I said this to so many people, okay, it's a big game today. Hey, we really want to win for the first time in 8 years, first time in 20 years, rather. Been in the game first time in 8 years. My opinion is not going to change of Anthony Grant if we win this game today. It really won't. On the whole, the big picture context here, I still know what kind of coach he is. I still know what kind of style you're getting. This season was still a disappointment, even if they're able to salvage it today, right? I think we're all on the same page of saying, and even, people love receipt me, pull my receipts. And I said a month ago, this team was good enough to win this tournament. Everybody thought it. Going into the season, everybody knew this team was good enough to win the conference, win the tournament, go to the NCAA tournament, right? And then, we had to play for 3 days in Brooklyn. So I'll say that obviously I want Grant to make a statement win today. He really hasn't won a big game at Dayton in 6 years, right? Which is the fall of the pandemic, of course. But my opinion won't change on him today. With that said, his job was really never in jeopardy. I've heard rumblings that he might step down. None of that's confirmed or anything like that. Yeah. But no, his job's it's safe for as long as he wants it. And of course, he wins today. The debate about him will get even hotter. But at the end of the day, man, I don't know. I guess I'm getting kind of tired of it. Regardless of how you feel about him, winning games is all that matters. And they get the win today. Everybody will be happy. We don't have to argue about much.
Yep. Well, Sully, thank you so much for joining the show today. Very insightful. Hopefully sometime in the future, again, we can have you on. Good luck to your Flyers.